Kenosha, Wisconsin, eh? Kenosha, Wisconsin. Cool. Just hanging out. What's up, everybody? Nice to see everybody jumping on with us, man. It's a fucking pleasure. Honestly, man. Thank you very much. It's been so fun hanging out with all of you. Wisconsin, eh? Kenosha, Wisconsin. Cool. Just hanging out. What's up, everybody? Nice to see everybody jumping on with us, man. It's a fucking pleasure. Honestly, man. Thank you very much. It's been so fun hanging out with all of you. Wisconsin, eh? Kenosha, Wisconsin. Let's turn that shit down. All right. up? So, hi, Matt. Hi, Matt. up, Mark? Mr. Mark James. He's been supporting the scene like crazy too, man. Fucking right, Mark. Good to know you as a buddy, man. Tune. Got a tune. That's all.
So what it's called to rise again.
You got a tune in the middle, right? I don't own CDN Records. No, I don't. Just work with Mr. Craig. Fuck those dishes. Yes, it is a Puppet Master. It's a retro Puppet Master. But yes, Full Moon to me is very close to my heart, dear to my heart. Let's put this down for a sec. We ended up doing a film for Full Moon last summer, entitled Necropolis Legion, and that was filmed in Canada here, where I'm from here, just about an hour and a half away, out in Milton. And it was directed by our friend Chris Alexander, who ran Fangoria for the last 6 years when they were in print, and worked for Rue Morgue magazine, just editor all over the place, right? So he's been working with Charles Band directly, which is the man behind Full Moon Entertainment for the last, well, Full Moon's been around since '90, but he's been making movies for like 40 plus years. I don't know if you remember Tourist Trap. That was a big one of theirs. Empire Pictures, that was their that was the first production company before they switched to Full Moon. But it was him, it was Charles and Richard Band. Richard is the guy who did all these scores for a lot of his movies. And if you know Reanimator, if you've heard of Castle Freak, if you've heard of Trancers, if you've heard of Puppet Master, if you've heard of Subspecies, if you've heard of, yeah, all these films, we ended up doing a movie with Full Moon last year, which is on Amazon Prime right now in the States, not here. That's getting sorted out right now, but there's going to be a new edit coming out so that the algorithm of Amazon won't disguise it as an adult film. There is some breasts in the movie, you know, oh boy, but Amazon is finding it as like a hard R or X rating or whatever, so they're hiding it. So we're gonna try to they're trying to redo the trailer and just a little different marketing to get it out there so it's a little more in your face instead of so far back that we literally have to send you a link to find the film. But yeah, that's getting redone soon, and yeah, that's Puppet Master, because I fucking love Puppet Master, man. It's unbelievable. Yeah, man. So who is on the telly? That's Decrepit from Ohio. which is kind of, you know, the theme that we're going for this little interview tonight. Full moon is amazing, man. What's up, Adam? Adam Scott, another fucking awesome dude, and in cardiac arrest. Goddamn straight, man. That fucking split with Surgikill, I swear, is fucking so good, man. Right on. If you guys don't know cardiac arrest, then you need to do something about that and fix it. So good. But yeah, this is Decrepit. And, yeah. What's up? What's up? So, I just want to, I wish I could afford more than I can, because, you know, you can only do so much, right? But I'm really loving, yeah, Castle Freak and Subspecies, man. They're fucking great movies. Great movies. No, I don't have any of the toys. I had a bunch of toys and stuff like that somewhere else too. But anyways, I'd love to get more fanzines. Anybody else out there a fan of Tough Riffs zine? It's almost a magazine, really. It's fucking, this thing is done incredible. Incredible. It's got the death metal you want. And it's done very, very well. And what's cool about this issue especially, is they went back and grabbed some, some interviews that were from, oh shit. There was some older issues of a zine they ended up reprinting, which is totally rad. And no, this is a great zine, man. Good old Dima. Dima's a great dude, man. He's fucking supporting. He also did that 7 Inches of Death book, I believe it was also. That's a great one too. But yeah, man, good shit here, guys. So there's, yeah, definitely, man. If you're into really good quality stuff, man, this Tough Riffs, fucking great zine, man. And another good friend of ours from John Grimm. He runs Spawn of Flesh Records, and also he's in Ectoplasma and Vulture, VULTUR. So he's got a zine here also called Spawn of Flesh. Sweet little fucking pocket zine, filled to the gills with all kinds of shit. We got horror movie stuff, tons of reviews. It's very good zine, man. I don't know, anybody else collecting these new zines that are coming out nowadays? Let's see, I'd like to hear your examples, because obviously I'd like to get in touch with more of these zines myself. And again, let's go back to Chris Alexander. This was just in the pile, but this is close to our hearts too. It's a George Romero official magazine, which again was put out by Chris Alexander and Phantasm Media, and this is pretty much just like a tribute to the man George Romero. And again, another huge inspiration for, I think, a lot of us. George Romero, I mean, like, Dawn of the Dead's one of the greatest films ever, really. I mean, I love Dawn of the Dead. It's unbelievable. But in Toronto a few years ago, we're talking like, I think 2012 now, I had the chance to work with, I mean, my future partner now, Phil Pattison of Rabid Dog Films. He ran Nyctophobia Films, which him and his partner put together George A. Romero's official Night of the Living Dead live play. If anybody's familiar with Evil Dead the Musical, which was a huge hit in Toronto, that's where it started. That's where Chris Bond, the director, that's where he's from. So Evil Dead the Musical was a smash, fucking awesome, great play. And you know, a couple years later, my friends put together this project, this concept of having Night of the Living Dead play, stage adaptation, but make everything black and white. And What they wanted to do, though, they loved the idea. You know, obviously got lots of good response because it's like a really good idea. But in order to do this properly, because George Romero and his team, John Russo, Russ Streiner, they were stripped of all their rights pretty much, Night of the Living Dead, when it was released, because originally they released it as Night of the Anubis. That was the copywritten playwright, screenwrite. Night of the Anubis, that was the original title, and they put the trademark on it, they put the seal on it, everything, right? Like it was done. But when it was released, the company decided to release it as Night of the Living Dead, which sounded better. And then once that was released, unfortunately, there was no rights, and nobody had the rights. So George Romero and the team kind of got fucked. And unfortunately, they got a little fucked on Dawn of the Dead also. And then, so this play itself, they wanted to make it an official, endorsed, you know, George Romero, John Russo, Russ Streiner play. So we got the approval from them to go ahead with this, because it's only fair that they're the ones that created this whole fucking zombie genre. And they came on board, and it was literally a fucking magical time, man. I never thought in a million years I'd be hanging out with George Romero and Russ Streiner, and especially John Russo and Russ Streiner. They brought us to Pittsburgh when we were shopping the play around to, you know, see if we could play it in some of the theaters that originally played Night of the Living Dead in Pittsburgh. So we went up there for like 3 days. They brought us around town. They showed us the ropes. They showed us, you know, where their original office was. They showed us where the house was, the Night of the Living Dead house. They took us to the Monroeville Mall. They took us to the cemetery. And to do all that with these fucking legends in the car with us, it literally, like, it was honestly one of the most amazing experiences that I've had, especially with my friends too, that we've ever had in our lives. It was literally unfucking believable. And Dawn of the Dead being like one of my favorite movies ever, as soon as we got to the mall, I literally was pointing out, I was like, oh, there's the lampposts, there's fucking where Macy's was, there's that, there was that. And we were supposed to stick together when we got to the mall, but I literally, it was blinders on. I didn't care who I was with. I didn't care what was anybody saying. I just fucking went off, and I literally it blew my mind, guys. I couldn't believe it. If you ever get a chance to go to Monroeville Mall, they still have once in a while tours and stuff happening through there to talk about the stories of the movie Dawn of the Dead. But anyways, enough about that. But yeah, that was a great zine too, man. Fulci. I'm a huge Fulci guy myself, but I'm especially a big Argento fan myself too. At first I was a big Fulci guy, and then I don't know, man. I just ended up finding Argento's soundtracks with originally Ennio Morricone. He did the first 3 Animal trilogies, and then obviously got Goblin after that. They resonated so fucking much with me, man. I love Dario, but I love Fulci. Like Zombie, Gates of Hell, House by the Cemetery, New York Ripper, even Conquest, man. That's a fucking great movie too. And I love Euro cinema, man. That's huge to me. Adam Scott knows what I'm talking about. Cardiac Arrest, they're big fucking horror fans too. So, but yeah, this is Decrepit right here. Enough about horror movies. I could talk about horror movies all fucking night, man. It's just, that's where I am. All right, let's get over here. All right, we're going over here. We're going over there. We're getting rid of that. We're getting rid of that. Bye-bye, everybody. Hello. What's up? So we're going to be hanging out with these motherfuckers tonight. Let's see here. Let's try this out. Well, look at it. Look at it. He's hanging out by the fire. Isn't that cozy?
That's right, buddy.
And there.
Cheers to you, man.
Cheers, guys.
How you guys doing? Gotta have a cold beer. It's mandatory, man.
We're gonna got her. Motherfuckers tonight.
Uh-oh. Or hearing some reverb in the background somewhere. Somebody have their speakers on or something?
Oh, shit. That's me. Fucking up already.
Already.
There we go. Better?
Is that better? Can you hear me?
I can hear all right. You guys hear me all right?
I can hear you, yeah. Totally. Okay.
Yeah, good.
Well, what's up, guys? How are you tonight?
All right.
Chilling on hump day, bro, you know?
It's definitely a hump day, and unfortunately, there isn't a hump day for me because I'm just not working anymore right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither am I.
You're not either?
Not even sure what day it is anymore.
But yeah, Paul, you're working all the time though, right?
Yeah, I work in a hospital, so, yep, still doing it. At least I'm not on the front line, though, man. I'm in the background.
Yeah, but still though, man, you're still helping everybody out though.
Yeah, hopefully this bullshit's over pretty soon, man. We get back to going to shows and doing what we do.
Fuck, it just sucks though, because literally, like, that's the one thing, like, I know a lot of us, like you guys too, you know, we don't mind hanging out by ourselves because we have music, we got movies, you know, we don't mind entertaining ourselves, but it gets to a point where it's like, yeah, man, but I need my fucking brothers and sisters beside me to enjoy this shit also, man.
Definitely, man. You know, maybe when we come out of this, like I've seen posted a little bit, people, you know, appreciate it a little bit more, and maybe they don't want to sit home on that Friday night when there's something going on, you know?
Well, that's just it. Yeah, exactly, man. Because you never know what the fuck's going to happen, right? And all of a sudden we get this virus and bam, you're stuck at home, you're fucked.
Right. And I'm sure we all run into the same problem, or even with thousands of CDs or LPs or whatever you got, you find yourself sitting there for 10 minutes like, fuck, I got nothing to listen to. You know what I mean? It's like,
it happens every time. It happens every time. Oh, I love it.
Even the coolest shit gets boring after a while, and nothing can replace a live experience. So,
well, that's it, right? That's exactly what it comes down to. It's the experience for one yourself and with your friends and everybody around you to enjoy it with.
Exactly. Can't be replaced, man.
Not at all. So,
No.
so what's going on there in Ohio, guys? What's up over here?
The usual. We're actually with KURNUGIA going to get back to jamming tomorrow at a socially acceptable distance, you know. But we had enough too, man. We're getting stir crazy and we want to jam some shit. So we'll be down in Chris's lair there tomorrow, trying to remember our fucking songs and shit for our new album that comes out here in a couple of actually next week.
Right on. So,
I think we're actually
go ahead.
I think we're actually going to get the CDs on time. Even though he said the plant was down for a couple of weeks, they still had people partially working there, and he's going to ship some of them out probably this week, probably by tomorrow or Friday.
This is for KURNUGIA, obviously?
Correct.
Yep. So the KURNUGIA album, Forlorn and Forsaken, that's going to be out of Memento Mori, European label out of Spain. Sure, a lot of you guys underground freaks are familiar with already. So, like I say, those will start making their way through the distros and all of that. European guys will probably have a little easier access to it first, but we should have our copies starting, you know, next week or the week after, you know, whenever the post office catches up and gets them to us. So at least we're not facing a massive delay. I know it's a fucked up time to be putting out an album right now. Can't really play any shows to support or do anything, but you know, we're real happy to get this full length out finally, man, and get it out to everybody to hear. Preview tracks have been, you know, received pretty good so far. They've been posted on various sources online, so you know, we're real happy with the feedback so far.
Right on. And you're obviously in the band also there. Quiet one on the side.
I'm a drummer. I've been in a band for 6 years now. And started off as sort of helping out because they didn't really have a drummer. And I was, at that time, busy in other projects, and I just didn't really want to take on another full-time band. I was still in the band Ringworm, and my other band, Solus, was active still at that time. And I kind of did it helping out, and then things changed for me. You know, I'm not in Ringworm anymore, and Solus is now defunct. So I had more time on my hands, and I wanted to still be active doing something. And then we switched up. We got Paul in the band. My friend Dwayne was playing guitar and singing, but he's got a family now, and he's just really busy with work and kids and 2 jobs, and there's just nearly no time for it. So he talked to Paul about it even before we did, because Paul was interested, and they talked about it, and Paul wanted to do it, and it was a nice, it was easy to change over. You know what I mean? Everybody, we all know each other. Everybody was cool about it. And
everybody's still, Dwayne's still a brother. There's no hard feelings or anything there at all. He supports, he posts our shit. I still trade with Dwayne, give him metal, all that kind of stuff. So we're all in close contact, man.
So being Embalmer yourself, that wasn't enough. You got to fucking just keep going, eh?
Hey, man, I can't pass up opportunity to jam with some more old friends. And, obviously Decrepit, I grew up seeing those guys a million times in the 90s and everything, one of my favorite bands. And, jam with Brian, obviously, who was in Nunslaughter before, and bringing Dylan along with me, who also's done, some stints in Embalmer too. So, we got a pretty cohesive lineup right now. Everybody gets along. Everybody, as a unit functions together well, as far as putting the songs together and everything. We fuck around, joke around, drink beer, jam tunes before and after practice. And, it's fun. And that's really what the whole point of doing a band is. I mean, this type of a band, like an underground death metal band like KURNUGIA is, obviously we're not, going to go around and tour the United States and tour Europe and everything. So it's got to be fun, man. The whole purpose of it is just together, jam some tunes that are, in the style that we grew up on and we happen to like to listen to ourselves, and make some tunes that other people, a lot of them tuned in tonight watching this, and other close friends around the world also hopefully can enjoy.
Yes, indeed. So you've been in the band for how long then?
Oh, probably like 4 years now. I think it was 2016 early or something like that when I joined. I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Close to 4 years, if not 4 years. So somewhere in the ballpark there.
Right.
We finally got our first 7-inch out with you on it after 4 years, but we got him finally.
Yeah, and that was out Haunted Hotel Records, right?
A split with Surgikill as well. I know you mentioned the Cardiac; those are brothers too, man. That's a great 7-inch. I got one of those, from those guys. They sent me one in the mail, so I jammed that one too. But yeah, that finally came out. You really can't complain because 7-inch vinyl. Not a lot of people put it out these days. There are some labels, but it's always been one of my favorite formats. But some labels don't do as many of them anymore. So those songs actually were recorded not long after Dylan and I joined. The intention of it was to get one of the newer songs with the current lineup out there while we finished the full length. But it just so happens that the way that the timing worked out with everything, that the 7-inch came out just before the album came out. So not ideal timing, but the packaging is cool, and just having any of your music on wax, especially for me, is sick as fuck. So no complaints at all.
Totally. So Chris, you said you came in the band like 6 years ago or whatever?
Actually, probably 2013, I think it was. Dwayne and Brian, who's the current bass player, they were both in Nunslaughter in the early 2000s with Jim and Don. And they, weren't really doing anything musically. They started the band. They came up with this idea to do this. And they actually had a different drummer, this younger kid, who seemed at the time, hungry and wanted to do it, and I just wanted to see finally a band from this town without me in it. All my friends, I was always in every band. Everybody would always ask me to do all these projects. All my friends, you got to do it. I'm like, but it seemed like it was working out at the time with this guy. And it did for about a year or two. They did a couple of shows. They actually put out one 7-inch with him also. And then he wasn't practicing. He wasn't keeping up with their, they weren't writing quick enough, and it just wasn't working out. And that's like, as I mentioned, when they asked me again, and my schedule had changed. I said I was not as busy as I was with bands. I wasn't in Ringworm anymore. My other band, Solus, had pretty much stopped, so I had more time. My plate was less full, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then I think Dwayne booked a show with Sadistic Intent here, and that was the first time I played with them, opening for them here in Cleveland.
God damn.
And the rest is history, I guess. Remember that show?
I co-booked that show, that Sadistic Intent show, with Dwayne, and with Balmer and KURNUGIA were both on that. And that particular show, when KURNUGIA played, that was one of the few shows that actually Rob Molzan from Decrepit, that vocalist, he was in the band for a very short time just before I joined. So he actually played that show and sang that one, you know, and I sang with Balmer that night.
Right, so. Right on. So that footage, that footage that we watched just prior, that was Decrepit from back in the day. That was you, right? Obviously.
Yes, that's me, and that's Matt, who's the current guitar player in Ringworm, but he was playing bass back then for us, just helping out. He still had hair. We all did back then. But,
yeah, I'm starting to go too.
Right? I think that was 95 or 94, Paul, that show?
Well, if it's Matt, then it's got to be 95, I would think, man.
Right. At least 95 or 6, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. And Decrepit was around for a few years even before that, too, right?
From like 91 to 96. Yeah.
Right on.
Yep.
Wow. And you guys wore black metal paint.
We were death metal fans. We were both.
He
did. Not you. He did.
It's funny. They all did. We started out. I mean, we were always a death metal band as far as I'm concerned, and I didn't wear it just because I remember if you didn't have the good stuff, it would just melt off your face anyways.
Yeah.
And I sweat like a pig when I'm playing anyways. And I was not that I don't dislike black metal, but back then, that's when it was all new and it was something different. And people in the band were more into it than I was. I wasn't really into it. You know, when it first broke big, like 93, 94, remember every band, Immortal came out and all the Osmo stuff. And just all of it was just new. And like Dwayne and Tom, our guitar player that passed away, he was in that video. I mean, he loved that stuff, you know, and they wanted to do it. And at the time, nobody in Cleveland here was doing that. You know, we already had like Vital Remains kind of doing it. Apsu was kind of doing it, but they were death metal bands. So we're like, well, let's do it in Cleveland. Let's be the band that's different and stand out.
Yeah, yeah.
So we did it.
They were one of the first, I would say, U.S. bands right at the beginning of that era that was doing it. Not just here, but in general in the U.S. I mean, there were others, obviously, that were doing it, but they were among the first handful that added that to their live show. But just like Old Embalmer, you know, back in Into the Oven era when they were playing live, they used to have all kinds of horror stuff on stage and all of that too, and do different little props. Decrepit did the same thing. So they would have the paint, but they've also done shows wearing cloaks and other things. So anything dark and sick and blasphemous, like those guys were always on the cutting edge of all that kind of stuff. And, did a lot of mail. So Dwayne and those guys would always, they would write all those bands in Norway, write those bands in Sweden and everything. So, they were on the original edge of when that started to really break. Me personally, as a fan back in those days, I always gravitated more towards death metal. I really never got into the whole black metal thing back then.
No.
But, you go see Decrepit, you see everybody wearing paint, you see Chris back there with his blonde hair and a blank face and just doing his thing. So Chris has really never changed.
Yeah, I mean, we all had our own personalities, and they wanted to do it, and I wasn't going to be the guy to say no, but I was like, I'm not going to do it because, first of all, I said it just runs off my face, and you don't really see me anyway, so fuck it. If you guys want to do it, and,
more fun.
Musically, we weren't, we didn't sound like a black metal band. If you listen to our CDs, you'll hear it. I mean, it has a darkness to it, but it definitely wasn't it definitely wasn't Dark Throne or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
it was just a cool image and it was something to stand out.
Yep.
From all the other bands in town as far as local. You know what I mean? And worldwide too. I mean, we were doing a lot of mail and being in touch with a lot of people. So it was just cool to do something different. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. And it's cool too. Like we chatted with Ken from Ken's Death Metal Crypt, and he ended up uploading one of the Decrepit demos on his channel or whatever, right?
He did. I watched your video that you did with him the other day.
Yeah, me too.
You wore your Asher on.
Yes.
Good job.
Right on.
Fucker, dude. I do mail with that fucker too, man. He comes out to our shows when he plays Chicago. I mean, he's like the rest of us. He's a total sick freak, man. I mean,
hey, the old school dude. I like he collects records. Your video, he had the record collection behind him.
Oh yeah.
I collect records too. I love seeing that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
His collection, some hardcore into it still, just as much as he was when he was 15. You know what I mean?
It literally. Yeah, like I said, man, we still get the same goosebumps now than we did even back then, right?
Oh yeah. I'm 46, man. It still excites me like it did then, you know what I mean?
I wouldn't be talking to you fuckers if it didn't.
Buying the fucking t-shirts and all that bullshit.
Yeah, totally. I mean? So, growing up in Ohio, how was the scene growing up then, like in the late 80s and stuff like that? How did it come to it is now, I guess?
Well, I mean, it's always we've been lucky and fortunate to always have a pretty good overall music scene in general, whether it be metal or anything. But as far as metal, we always had plenty of places to play, plenty of clubs. Bands always, especially back then, all the bands would pass through here. You know what I mean? You had all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're playing New York, if you're doing a tour and you're playing New York and you're playing Chicago and you don't cut up through Canada to come see you, then you're coming through Cleveland to come see us. Or both, maybe. So, we're really spoiled. Like, a lot of the younger generation or people that live other regions and everything, they post, like, all these old shirts and these old flyers and old albums and tours and all this stuff. And, we're real fortunate that a lot of those, it's like, well, yeah, I was there. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I got the shirt still. Yeah, you know what I mean? All that kind of thing. And those memories never go away, man. So, we were really spoiled. And
yes.
As far as you can see a lot of sick shows and having a real rich scene, to develop in and all ages shows back then and everybody coming out and the word of mouth getting out there. And, and like I say, the thing that you probably realize too, and I've said before, is what I think the biggest difference in the scene between back then and now is number one, you had everybody's undivided attention because you didn't have phones and the internet and all the rest of that. So that's one thing. The second thing is I think all the scenes in general were a lot more integrated. So you would go see skate punks and BMX bike riders and punk rockers and hardcores and crossover dudes and death metal freaks and all them. Like, it was all just extreme music, and you would see a variety of those types of people at shows. You see metal people at the hardcore shows, you see hardcore people at the metal shows. And I just don't think there's that much of that anymore these days. I think, we all know turnouts in general aren't what they used to be. There's still a lot of good shows, but in general, they're a little bit down. And, with the internet and everything and a lot of, scholars that are on the keyboards and stuff, it's like things get micro dissected into smaller and smaller pieces of meat. So it's technical death metal. It's old school death metal. It's death grind. It's gore grind. You know what I mean? And it keeps getting lower and lower and lower, where it's just, dude, it's fucking sick. He's got Gut. You go from listening to gore grind, something like Gut, to putting on Dark Angel, to putting on, Excel or something like that, and just switching it all around. It was just all aggressive music. And I think, back then, what makes it different too is music still had room to grow. It could get more extreme. It could get faster. It could get sicker, lower tune, lower vocals, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. After a certain point, when you're playing like 380 beats a minute or 420 beats a minute and playing 100 notes a second, or you down tune playing a 12-string guitar or whatever you're doing, it's like you know, things are still advancing greatly these days, you know, but it all goes in kind of a little bit of a circle. Then the styles start to mix with each other. Whereas I think thrash metal evolved out of hardcore, started to get faster, more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Death metal went faster, heavier, lower, all that. You know, so music was still more exciting, I think, because it was still becoming what it was going to be.
Right.
So to be a part of that and get to see those tours and those shows, you know, even major label bands like Deicide, Cannibal Corpse, all that stuff we all know. I mean, that was all like on first or second, third album back then, you know, and they were evolving too. So it was a real cool time.
And,
absolutely, man.
And Jay, you were a part of it. You were a part of it huge, right?
Oh yeah, like Immolation's first tour for Dawn of Possession. They brought Gorophobia with them, who were relatively unknown at the time. They didn't even really have their EP out on Relapse yet, but we already were aware of the band because we were already doing Mail and all that. So we were like super excited. You know, we got to open up on that show. Turnout wasn't great, but the memories.
This show right here.
There it is. Look, he's got the flyer
oh,
right there.
Shit. Look at that.
That's the old flyer.
Wow.
See, I'm an asshole that still prints this shit. I still print this stupid shit and send it in the mail. You know what I mean? When people order stuff from me and everything else like that, they're going to get a bunch of this kind of stuff in there with the package because I still think that's cool, man.
That's history.
You know, I like
that's history.
Stuff on my packs and stuff. So stickers, old historical flyers and shit like this, man. We keep it in circulation to keep the history going. That's pretty important to me, man.
Yep.
So.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
I guess, me and Paul we're pretty much alike. Our memory is pretty vivid on those things just because we love it so much, and that's why we always talk about it. Or if someone engages us in a conversation, we can sit there and they're like, wow, how do you know all these specific things about this show and that show, and this shirt and this band? And just because we still love, like I said, we're still like that kid in high school that still loves it. Just
so for example, like I purposely wore this Mental Funeral shirt today because it's the 29th anniversary of this sick fucking album. So I figured, hey, if I'm going to be on with Cannibal Camp today, dude, I might as well rep the fucking birthday of one of my favorite records, dude, Mental Funeral. So, just stupid little details like that. And, not to be, retarded or anything like that, but me and Chris will find ourselves half the time going to show like, dude, you weren't Unleashed? You got this member, dude?
Yeah.
We don't want to show up wearing the same shit, dude. It's like,
we'll text each other and make sure we're not wearing the same shirt. Because it's happening. You get there and you feel like an idiot because you're wearing the same shirt.
And usually you think you're safe, like, oh, dude, I'm going to wear this 1993 fucking tour long sleeve. It's like, it's not that safe with guys like him lurking around, dude. So it's like, fucking, God damn it, you motherfucker. Like, I only wear this once every 6 years and you fucking burnt it for me. So it's like...
It's so true, though. It's the same way, too, with a couple of my buddies. It's like, all right, I'm wearing a fucking Mortician shirt. You better not wear a Mortician shirt tonight kind of thing, right? It's fucking hilarious.
Right. Hey, man, you got to coordinate, Fuck. Rep something different.
So when was the first time you heard Autopsy then, Paul?
Oh, man. Probably when this record came out, I'm a couple years behind Chris, so like he probably had the demo and all the rest of that. Whereas Mental Funeral is probably about where I came in. Then Fiend for Blood. The first time I saw Autopsy was on their tour with Incantation and Morgue, Vital Remains. That was the Acts of the Unspeakable tour. So that's the first time I actually got to see them live. So I know other people in Cleveland like Brian from Terror and some of the old Embalmer guys, they either went to the Day of Death in Buffalo or they went to the Milwaukee Metal Fest 3 in '89. Even before that had a Nuclear Assault, Obituary, fuckload of bands. So they went to that. That was Metal Fest 3. Jesus. And, legendary band, obviously. Everybody was influenced by them. A lot of us here love it.
Lifelong fan, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely.
And Chris, yourself, I mean, you're wearing a Bolt Thrower shirt. What's your ties with Bolt Thrower there?
I probably 89. I think the first thing I heard was Roma Chaos, the first album I got.
Yeah, same here.
Got the first one after that. We had a record shop here. Paul aware of it also. But like I said, we're a few years apart, so we got started a few years earlier. But there was a record shop here called Shattered Records, and the guy used to get all the imports, all the cool stuff, before the internet, and and sometimes he would maybe jack up the prices, but he had the stuff.
Yep.
So you went in, and you got, he had the fucking Roma Chaos gatefold vinyl with the comic book in it, and you got it.
Jesus.
We had it.
Yep.
I bought Severed Survival right off he had a shelf for the new releases, like at a store, like at a department store where you put up the new releases of the week, and there was Severed Survival. It was a big joke. The guy's name was Frank. Everybody knows it. He used to, like I said, maybe jack the prices up, or
and he used to have to buzz you in too. So you have to wait outside, ring the fucking doorbell, and then he would let you in. And he would bitch at you too. Like if you look around, hey, motherfucker, you gonna buy something? You're gonna fucking sit here and stand around. Like he would, he would be all up your ass. But that's another thing too, man. Like back then, in addition to having tons of clubs. Some cities are starved for clubs. Now, we've had different ones throughout the years that have come and gone, but as one's gone out, another one's kind of replaced it, and you can follow the era of the club evolutions as the years have gone on, and same with the record store. So back then, like he was saying, if you wanted import shit, he went to Shattered, and not only did he have good ties with distributors over there, he used to make trips over for festivals over in Europe, and then he would come back with a gang load of fucking shit like earache releases, all that stuff. Before it was like easy to get, when you were still paying import fee on shit.
Right.
And then of course
all the early Nuclear Blast stuff, all the Osmo stuff. I mean, everything, all of it.
Yeah, and he could jack the prices up because, like you said, where else are you gonna get this shit?
Right. I mean, you could try to order it in the mail yourself, but that wasn't very easy, as we all know back then.
Right. Yeah.
It was a running joke. It was funny. All of our friends knew. You'd come in and you'd be like, "Hey guys, got a new autopsy." You'd be like, "Oh, sweet," and he'd be like, "Last copy." And you're like, "All right, I guess I better buy it." And then you buy it, walk out, and look back in the window, and he put another one out. Everybody got that was good. We used to call him Frank Ganja because he was like a con artist, man. He was a funny guy, but he was still cool. I mean, he hooked me up over the years. He was always cool to me, man. When he closed the store, he let me come in, and he used to have all the promo posters on the walls over the years.
Oh,
he piled them up in boxes, let me go through them, and I was buying up posters like a madman for like $5 a piece. And he ended up selling his whole store, basically, except for a handful of things to Amoeba, Amoeba in LA,
yep.
Amoeba Music. He sold basically everything to them, and he actually, they gave him one flat price, and he actually traveled with the stuff and helped them organize it out in California and everything. And but he still stayed open for a while, just kind of selling all the old stuff he still had, and he would order stuff for you here and there, and then he closed it down a few years back, but it was still there for a while, and it was cool. I used to go in and just sit there, like I said, go through old posters, and I might find an old whatever record in there. He still had a handful of things in there.
Get all the long boxes, too.
There were other eccentric record store owners, too. We had a few of them around here. There was another place that was my home store that I went to a lot called Perry's Rock Pile, and he used to have all of his CDs to guard against theft. They were all in cabinets with chicken wire. It was like a chicken coop. So you'd have to go look through the chicken wire and be like, "Hey, man, let me get that Atrocity Hallucinations, man. Pull that out." And he'd come open it up, pull it out for you. All of his used CDs in the front was just a piece of paper in a case, but he had all the booklets and the layouts and shit behind the counter. He put it together for you and be like, "Here you go, man." Fuck it. But, dude, as far as shirts, like, everybody's always like, "Where'd you get that? Where'd you get this?" That motherfucker had 2 rows, like, fucking length of the entire store of every old shirt you could ever imagine. And even sometimes when bands would come through on tour, he would buy up extra copies of, like, tour long sleeves and shit. You'd be able, even if you missed the show, you'd be able to go up there and be like, "Oh, cool, man, got the tour shirt, cool." Like, and snag it from them. So between Shattered, Chris's Warped Records, Perry's Rock Pile, Ultrasound Music, you know, and then obviously all the ones we took for granted back then, the mall stores like Camelot, Record Town, Record Revolution, all that kind of shit. You know, there was no shortage of places to go find physical music. And I think that's another thing that's lost these days too, is even if you didn't intend to buy anything but a sticker or a tape or some shit, dude, go up there and fucking hang out.
That's
you go up there and hang out and run into other people and browse shit and shoot the shit and all that kind of thing, man. And, you know, more of an in-person kind of a thing rather than mail order.
Well, that's the thing, though, too, right? It was one of those places where you didn't mind, and a lot of the stores, too, they didn't mind you hanging out because they knew that if you were there, one of your buddies is going to show up, and then you're going to start talking about that album, and then that album comes up, and then it's like, oh, yeah, do you have that album? I'm going to fucking buy that album. And then that's when the fucking scenes start happening, when everybody's like, oh, you're here for that? You're here for that band? Fucking right, let's do it.
Yep.
So, Chris, when was the first band that you started in? What was the first thing that you started jamming?
Oh man, well, before Decrepit, me and Dwayne, the guy that we mentioned before, that was singing before Paul and KURNUGIA, because Dwayne was basically an original member of EMBALMER also. He played in those early years, you know, when they used to do the big stage shows and have the horror movies on the screen before the show, and they had a casket on stage and all that cool shit. But before that, me and him had our own band. We were, you know, anywhere from 14 to 16 years old, and we made a band called Mutilation. At that time, nobody was using that name.
Right.
We never recorded anything. First of all, we didn't have the money, and we probably didn't really know what the hell we were doing anyways. We were little kids, but we made a rehearsal demo, you know, with like a 4-track recorder, and we had a friend that would do artwork for us, and he drew a cover for us, and that's when we started getting into mail. Dwayne started first before me. I followed him and basically learned all that, how to do all that from him, and we made it, you know, and started sending them around, and he got it around to a lot of fucking people, man. I mean, Europe and all kinds of places, you know. And then it kind of fell apart because he got the offer to be an EMBALMER, and that was like the coolest thing in this fucking town. It was the first really death metal band. You know, we had Terror, which was like thrash death, you know, more like Sacrifice or early death, which is great too. But you had Terror and then EMBALMER, and then that was like the two best bands in this town, and you're going to get offered to be in a band. Well, of course you're going to go do it because they already had something going, and we had nothing, you know what I mean? But that was our first band, and then when he went off and did that, I decided to form Decrepit on my own with the Mutilation singer, and then I met a couple guys at one of the clubs we mentioned before. There was a club called Flashes where all the shows were. Paul mentioned the Autopsy Incantation tour that was there, but I mean that's just a place where it was our home away from home, you know what I mean? And we met some guys there at a show, and they were trying to do a band, and it wasn't working out. Two guitar players, and we're like, hey, we're trying to start something, you know, we want to be like, you know, like EMBALMER, that kind of stuff, and we got together and started writing music and came up with that name, and the rest is history, I guess, you know what I mean?
Oh, it totally is, man.
And you know what? So Flashes, so back then, the cool clubs, man, you know, there was Flashes and there was the Empire were the two main ones. And Flashes really helped develop the local music scene because, you know, they would put premier shows together. You know, they would always have a local opener, like, you know, Deicide Cancer comes through their, you know, opener. You know, the Autopsy show going to have a good opener. You know, they would allow free booking, not free booking, but free reign to book up there whatever you wanted. And every Tuesday night was musicians night. So bands would host musicians night. EMBALMER would host a musicians night. Decrepit would host a musicians night. Hemdale, whoever. You know, and then you would have your buddies also play on the show. So even though, say, EMBALMER's hosting musicians night, another band would also play. You know what I mean? And things like that. So
right, they knew it was a death metal musicians night. All the death metal kids or the guys that were playing death metal music, let's go play at that one. And then it would become almost like a regular show, but it was a Tuesday night. You know what I mean? It was still fun. You know what I mean?
God damn.
That was a good. That was Flashes was always, like I said, like you said, always supportive of us playing on shows or booking our own shows. Embalmer always did really well back in those days. Like I said, they were one of the first bands to do the death metal thing around here, so it was new and exciting. And you know, they did well for the club, so the club was always good to them. And Dwayne booked a shitload of great shows back then. He made a fest called Splatterfest back then. One of the first things we ever had in this town with, you know, out-of-town bands. You know, we had Rotrevor and
Cyanide,
Human Remains,
all that
you
shit.
know,
I mean, Mythic, rather.
yeah.
Human Remains, all those bands. So for someone young like me, fucking being out there, I get to go to something like that, dude, and just, you know, it's like for me, there wasn't a whole lot of a grace period. You know what I mean? Like, it was, you know, Black Sabbath and, you know, my dad's record collection and everybody like that, and thrash and all that, and then right to the fucking underground. You know what I mean? It was like directly in there, because that's the kind of shit I was going to, man. You know, it wasn't just the touring Cannibal Corpse Butchered at Birth tour or this or that. It was shit like he just said, man. I see it in Human Remains, seeing fucking, you know, Cyanide, Head Rot, fucking all those early Embalmer shows, Hemdale's first show that, you know, a lot of people like that band now and stuff, dude. And just Odious Sanction back then when they were starting on Gutted. They were called Gutted, obviously. Not, there were two Gutteds from Ohio. I'm sure some people know that. A lot of people might not. But, you know, you had Gutted from Toledo, which is the red light band that everybody's more familiar with, and then Gutted from Cleveland, which was actually changed their name to Odious Sanction, and Steve's and drumming obviously in Immolation now. So, you know, there's a lot of history that comes out of Cleveland. You know, we don't really get talked about as much in the zines or in the national or international, you know, historical archives as like your New York or your Chicago or Texas or California or Florida or places like that. But, you know, we had an awesome scene here, man, and a lot of great bands. And if you really go back and look at some of the bands that were from here, if you're unfamiliar, I mean, when you got Embalmer, Decrepit, I mean, Hemdale, Descend, in Blood of Christ, fucking, I mean, so many good bands that were from here, dude, that, you know, it was real fortunate seeing, you know, for someone like me to grow up and, you know, and end up doing what I'm doing now. So.
Yeah, totally. And like you mentioned, Ohio, you know, people know about it, but it's not one of those places where it's the first thing that comes off, you know, everybody's head, where it's like, oh, a death metal scene, Ohio. It's like, no, we talking about Tampa, Buffalo, all that kind of shit, right? But a lot of history has happened in Ohio. Like, there's a ton of shit that came out of Ohio too, right?
Yeah, and not to mention record labels too, and fests and stuff, man. Like, you had Ablated Records, you had Visceral Productions, Craig from Hemdale's label for a while that sold all of half of his releases to Relapse and Repulse. I mean, at one point, if he would have kept doing that, he had Exhumed, Scattered Remnants, Incantation, Hemdale, Nile. I mean, he had all that shit ahead of its time, and you know, and a lot of things as far as our collections out here that we were fortunate. Like, Dwayne did Dismal Records, okay, but he would do a fuckload of trading, and then when he was in Incantation in '94, '95, and they went and toured around, he would bring a bunch of shit back. It'd be easy access. Brian Baxter, you know what I mean, with the Bladed Records. I mean, even before that, when he was just doing Sodomize in '94, '95, he had a little tape distro, and you'd have shit. Craig had shit. But see, all those guys also did mass buys. So what really made the premise for Visceral Productions is he bought up a lot of the remains of Stage 3 distribution. So he had all that shit. Brian bought up most of the remains of JL America and Turbo Music. So he had fuckloads of Deteriorate, fuckloads of Morpheus Descends, Immortal. You can go get fucking 10 of them if you want. You know what I mean? So it's like all that shit was readily available here. Not only from all of us doing mail ourselves, but from those dudes that took it a step further and ended up doing an underground label or a distro, either to get their own bands distributed and through trade labels and shit like that, or shit they picked up during live shows or buyouts they did of other labels that failed. A lot of the concentration of those dead stock releases, were concentrated right here.
Wow. Well, there's some news for you out there. Go ahead.
Remember when John McEntee, when he had Dwayne and Kyle first joined Incantation, he relocated from Jersey to here. So that was like that thing, like you said, like you were saying, nobody really remembers. But I mean, Incantation was based out of Ohio for a number of years. You know what I mean? But I remember some of those early tours, and they would go to Mexico, and that's when well, it still is, but back then it wasn't so easy to get them. You didn't go on Facebook and buy a T-shirt, but they used to go to Mexico and do a lot of tours there, and they like I said, they would do mass buys and bring back these boxes of shirts, all these bootlegs, but legitimate nice stuff. You know what I mean? He'd come back and that Demigod shirt, me and you got Paul, and I mean all kinds of cool stuff. They would just bring back the stuff, and then they would sell it on tour to make money. They'd probably trade out Incantation stuff for whatever they did, but they'd come back from tour, and I would just go to their house, and they let me look through boxes of stuff and CDs and tapes and everything. So we were always fortunate to have that too. All these people that were active and doing things and bringing stuff back to us, like to our backyard, basically.
Jesus Christ.
And then obviously Craig Growl with Visceral. I mean, look at what Exhumed's evolved into, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like when he decided he was not going to do it anymore, Relapse came in. You know what I mean? After they had their obviously we went back and we were talking about imports, so we should mention how that all went. People that might be a little younger don't remember. Getting an import release was a pain in the ass. So that's when you had the Nuclear Blast / Relapse catalog. They would have distribution rights in Europe and the U.S. to make the releases more available without the import price or whatever you used to have to pay.
Yep.
But when Craig was done doing it and that relationship was on its way out there, a lot of those contracts ended up getting sold. So Relapse ended up picking up some of the bands, Exhumed and Nile, two of the bigger ones, and obviously Hemdale put out the Rad Jackson on that, and then some of the others like Scattered Remnants and Incantation for the first version of Forsaken Morning of Angelic Anguish was Repulse, and then they had to go back and finish their contract, obviously with Relapse. So there's another version, that came out after that, but I mean, look at those releases that people are more familiar with, that really Craig had a lot to do with that stuff, or would have had them out on Visceral Productions had he continued doing that. So
yeah, totally. Well, because that split Exhumed Hemdale, like In the Name of Gore, that album is like, it's mind blowing. It's fucking cult huge.
It's still my favorite shit. I mean,
it's the best.
I mean, the last shit they put out, horror, all that stuff. I mean, I love it all. It's sick as fuck. They never really changed their style.
That split.
But that Hemdale Exhumed split, it's just, when I heard that, it's still one of the sickest things, man.
Yes, it is. It's literally 2 albums put together, and it's fucking like there's so much music on there, and you can never get bored of it.
Right.
So you guys talk about.
We were talking about Old Cleveland, and just I'm going off topic here. You can go wherever you want with this. Go. And I'm getting texts as we're doing this. Also, both you guys. And
me too.
You actually did mention them, but Matt said nobody mentioned Blood of Christ.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did. He did.
He sent me the text. I'm like, he's watching it. Blood of Christ did. But I mean, we have some
great bands. Decrepit and Blood of Christ. Oh yeah, Blood of Christ for sure.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about some of the other bands like Terror, like Before Embalmer.
Yep. Please.
Before Embalmer was like that, but Terror was the band. I mean, we were young kids. Me personally, I was 12 and 13 years old and seeing that band, and it was like mind blowing because it was like, I just got it. We just got like, Scream Bloody Gore and Leprosy, and then to realize there was a band in town with these kids that were a few years older doing that, and they were, they had enough money to make a demo and play a show, and they played. Those guys opened up for every fucking good tour that came through. Every good band came through. Terror was opening. Before Embalmer, it was Terror. Creator Corner, 89 tour, Terror. Nuclear Assault Survive tour, Terror. Death comes through, Terror. Terror was the band. I mean, the music style, like I said, I loved it.
It's still one of my favorite bands in this town. Period.
Yeah, short from this town, you know.
Anybody that's not familiar with their, you know, there's a compilation CD that's out there. You know, Brian Sakula, look him up, send him a, he's in, his band is a Badiat now, Badiat, but his first band was Terror. You know, he was in Mortician for a small amount of time too, and they were based in Cleveland for the Hacked Up for Barbecue and Zombie Apocalypse eras. You know, for the live shows. But yeah, that was the band that really set the way. Was Terror in this town, man. They were good friends with the Embalmer dudes and all that. So like Chris said, that was really what kind of started it in this town as far as underground music. To get up to Blood of Christ, man, I mean, like, yeah, that band is great. And I know we've all heard that there's one from Canada too, you know, that changed their name to The Blood of Christ, you know, another, you know, they're a good band, but, you know, the Cleveland one's obviously the one that we're more partial to. And that was Tom Rojak that Chris ended up jamming with in Decrepit. That was his band before joining Decrepit too, along with Matt, who was also in Decrepit. So, you know, there's a lot of circular history of people being in different bands in this town. And they were also on Seraphic Decay. So, I mean, that 7-inch was on Seraphic Decay. That's another label that was based out of the Cleveland area. So, I mean, so their first demo and that 7-inch, and then especially the 93 demo is my favorite thing. But that's another awesome band. Dwayne, that used to be that we've mentioned a bunch of times here. Him and Sean Panic from Pittsburgh from Psycho Slaughter Records. They put out a compilation CD of that too. So people don't have that. They got to seek this shit out, man. If you're a fan of good, well produced, authentic, fucking well played 90s death metal, gotta have Mark Right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. There it is.
KURNUGIA,
yeah.
That's the first one.
That's the first one?
The Blood of Christ, yeah, you gotta sneak that shit out.
That's the one with the different drummer on it.
But a little bit of history on that one too, Cam. Like, even though I wasn't in the band yet, I've always been involved trying to help people with shit. So when they were putting that 7-inch out, I was hanging out at practice and everything. And I actually did guest vocals on small backing part on the second song on that 7-inch, and I helped Dwayne design the layout for that a little bit, guided him along the way to help him out. So, you know, even though I wasn't in the band when they started with KURNUGIA, I was still involved, hanging out, you know, helping Dwayne, all that other kind of thing, because I wanted to see it happen too. You know what I mean? I wanted to see another good, authentic death metal band from Cleveland that was starting in that type of a style with people that I've known for fucking ever that are authentic, real musicians and fans from back in the day. So, yeah. So around that same time that was coming out, Dwayne was also putting out the Blood of Christ so that music could live on and be exposed to a new generation and be on CD format. You know, you have a 7-inch and a couple of tapes. I was real appreciative to have that shit on a CD that I could jam in my car. Yeah. You know? And then there was another band that did that was more black death metal oriented type thing with Decrepit members called Funeral Pyre. Yes. So right around that same time, you had the KURNUGIA first 7-inch coming out, the Blood of Christ anthology CD, the Funeral Pyre anthology CD. And that's all just, you know, out of passion. Those aren't fucking selling 1 million fucking copies. You know what I mean? But people that really appreciate this music want that fucking shit, man. And more people should be exposed to it, in my opinion.
And what's awesome,
so if you
too...
don't got that shit, go fucking get it.
Yeah, fucking right. And what's cool, too, is I ended up scoring this KURNUGIA and the Blood of Christ from Jim Konya when I think, Paul, when you guys played in Buffalo when Brian Pattison booked you for the first time.
Ah, yes. Yeah, man. See, all those good times, man, and that's what's spreading the music. Just like me holding up this fucking flyer right here.
Yes.
You know, Jim Rowe just sent me a pack. Support the Primitive too. I'll give a plug for my bro Jim Rowe.
Yes.
Support that too. But he sent me 10 fucking CDs because I traded him with some shit too. But you know why? Because I'm gonna take them 10 CDs and I'm gonna send them to fucking people, man. Because I have a genuine vested interest in spreading this music, you know, for friends of mine, you know, obviously for the Cleveland shit, but also for other friends that, you know, I mean, obviously everybody knows Jim Rowe jamming in fucking Incantation and Disciples of Mockery and all that other good stuff that he's done along the years, Goraphobia Live and everything else that he's done. So, yeah, of course I'm going to send the guys fucking shit out. Of course I'm going to spread Blood of Christ promos. Of course I'm going to send KURNUGIA promo CDs out before I was in the fucking band and shit, man, you know? Because, you know, if you're going to order a Beloved Creation shirt from me or a fucking Embalmer shirt from me, you should get some other shit. That means you're probably going to like this too, and you might not know about it. So here, I'm going to shove it in your pack, and fucking off it goes.
And that's the thing. You bring up a good point, too, is that was the old days, right? Whenever we'd write packages or just letters to each other, we'd literally stuff as much shit as we could into those fucking mailers to get whatever we could, like 7 inches, tapes, like even shirts or whatever. You sent whatever you could because you knew at the other end it was going to come back to you. So it didn't matter. So everybody was sending fucking just an exuberant amount of shit to spread the word. And that's what you did. And that's cool that you still feel that same flame.
Absolutely, man. And like I say, one of my biggest trading partners for 25 years, man, is a dude from Mexico. Most of you guys know, and obviously, unfortunately, he passed away last year. Was Arturo from Shub Nagurath. So you know, the singer from Shub Nagurath. I traded with that fucker so long, dude. And we used to do mega trades. Like I literally sent him over 100 items in a fucking box, fucking before, dude. And he sent me fucking. You know, he would gather up for over a year a bunch of Mexican shit from Jimmy Sanchez and, you know, all the different labels, Red Line, American Line Productions, all those other Mexican fucking people he was dealing with, and send me a giant fucking box of fucking shit, dude. So, you know, it's good. I mean, and like I say, for eBay sales, I don't do that much of it anymore. But when I did, I'd always send this kind of stuff out with packages when I was selling shit because, you know,
spreading the love.
Cool flyer stick on their wall. It's something that doesn't go out of style.
Yes.
You know, you're never gonna open a package and say, hey, I ordered a T-shirt. Oh damn, there's a bunch of fucking stickers in here. Oh fuck, I got these old flyers. What the fuck, dude? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you make somebody's day, dude, and that's what it's all about. You look forward to the fucking mailman coming to your house and fucking shitting some metal out on your fucking porch, right?
Exactly. And I'm assuming, Chris, you feel the same way too. That's how it's been.
Oh, absolutely. So you had to. I wasn't aware or not. I didn't know if I should bring him up or not. But you mentioned Jim. You know, it was his birthday yesterday as well. But you had the privilege of meeting him, so you knew he was just the way everything that Paul's talking about. He was the guy, like I said, he gave you that KURNUGIA and that Blood of Christ. He loved to be the metal Santa, you know what I mean, in every show.
Yes.
And I used to call him that. You know,
I'll be honest with you, man.
He didn't set, like, even his own releases or anybody else's, he would never go to the show and be like, well, that's $5, or he would never sell a thing. He would just hand it out like candy, everything.
Yep. And I'll be honest with you, man, ever since he passed, I don't do it on the same scale as him, but I try to take care of my friends, dude. You know, there's a lot of people out there now that I'll make shirts and I'll fucking hand them out and don't ask for nothing for them, you know?
Sure.
I'll get extra releases and, hey, do you got this, man? Here. I'm not waiting to take it to the next Embalmer show and put it in the distro pile for fucking $5, $10. I don't give a fuck. You know, I got a good job. So, to me, it's more important for people that I think need the shit, deserve the shit, appreciate the shit, to get their hands on it, man. If I got extra copies to give out, I'm guilty as fuck giving them out. As a matter of fact, I had to give Brian all the fucking Embalmer merch, and it's safer for him to have it because when I have it, guess what? Our sales are down because I'm fucking sending shit out in the goddamn mail. So you know what? So now the way that it goes, dude, is when we make fucking merch, I put in my own separate order of like 15 or whatever else on the side for my shit, and then that's my fucking giveaway shit. You know what I mean? So,
but that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it all.
But I mean, Jim just, you know, he wouldn't have, you know, if it was a release that he solely released with his own money, yeah, he would pass it out like that. He didn't care, but you know, he didn't get everything. You know, all the Nunslaughter stuff. You know, he wouldn't get multiple copies. He would get only a handful because it wasn't, you know, it was Hell's Headbangers or whoever, and he wasn't the guy in the band. You know, that was, you know, Don would handle all that, and Jim would get maybe 5 or 10 copies, and he wouldn't. I didn't get everything, but I would get some of the stuff I was fortunate to get because we were, so close, But I mean, just on the stuff that, like the Schnauzer and all his own stuff.
Yes.
If he financially, did it himself, he didn't care. Everybody appreciated it, you know what I mean? Even if you didn't know him that well, you just knew he was that guy at shows that was. He wanted people like Paul was saying. We wanted people to have stuff. We wanted to hear stuff. And if you don't like it, all right, throw it out the window on the highway, I guess. But hopefully you'll like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. We all have this passion for this fucking crazy music. So why not just let's bring? Hey, you need some shit? Well, then here's some stuff too. Come join us. Here, you want some shit? Come join us. Let's fucking make a bigger fucking scene, right?
Right.
We did that all through the years. We never really changed our attitude or the way we do things. You know what I mean? We just simply we're not making money. We're not doing shit.
No.
I've done a lot of things that touring and this and that. But I'm never gonna. I never lived off of it. I never can live off it. I can't do as much of that as I used to anymore. Now that I have a better job and I own a house, but we're still going to try to do stuff with KURNUGIA. Hopefully we can do some, long weekends or, maybe some small runs here and there. Hopefully when the CD comes out, but, we just do it because we didn't do it because we were trying to be big or be rock stars. We just love the whole thing of it. You know what I mean? The whole lifestyle, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yep. There's a reason.
The whole thing.
And speaking about KURNUGIA too, man, even before I was in the band, and obviously with our new CD too, people ask like, hey, on the last EP, Condemned to Obscurity, which Chris was on and I wasn't, but why are there cover songs on that? Well, because they're fucking fan freaks. You know what I mean? Why did it on the new KURNUGIA? Why is the last song, an obscure sentence cover? Because we wanted to fucking do it. You know what I mean? Because, we got original songs, but, we don't want to do just, stuff. On the last one, they did more stuff that was more well-known, Autopsy, stuff like that. This one, we're like, let's do a sentence song that's been played live, throughout different lineups of the band. The Moment of Death, When the Moment of Death Arrives off Shadows of the Past, obviously my favorite era of the fucking band. And stuff like that. So if you like KURNUGIA's general style and influences of what goes into that, you're probably a fan of Early Sentenced and on all that kind of stuff too. So us being fans ourselves is what drives you to do that, not just to fill space on a fucking CD or whatever. Like we made sure we had enough original music without that, you know what I mean, to have a full length worth of music. But of course we want to throw that on there, dude, because we're fucking fans, And
before we were musicians, we've always been fans, always and forever.
Yeah, man. So you mentioned, obviously, let's go back to the Seraphic Decay stuff, Ohio-based.
Mm-hmm.
And, they put out some legendary fucking 7-inches. Like, it was unbelievable. And then all of a sudden, it was just like, uh-oh, what's going on with these guys?
Right.
But I mean, you've been hanging around. You kind of know some stories, perhaps.
Chris more than me, yeah, man. But I mean, like they were based out of Ohio, at Cam's Plaza over in Rocky River or whatever, and it was this guy Steve O'Bannon, and that's a little before my time. We're talking in the '80s here.
Yeah.
Okay, so when that stuff was coming out. Like the first Morbid Angel demo and all that. I hear all these stories too. Chris probably remembers them all firsthand and everything, but he would have that shit first. And demos, he would have that shit first. And it all came out, obviously he wanted to make 7-inch copies of all that stuff, and we all know how legendary it all became. And after a while, obviously everybody knows the stories. If you ever read Thanks lists of a band's first full lengths and stuff like that, there was a lot of fuck you, Seraphic Decay, rip off, blah, 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 all that kind of, just like you had with Wild Rags and some other labels back in the day. And the reason for that is, bands would sign, a deal and think there was going to be 200 copies pressed or 300 copies pressed or 500 copies pressed, whatever. Then it turns out that there's fucking 15 different versions of it, and there were more pressed than what the band agreed to, so people felt like they were getting ripped off.
Right.
Now, my personal opinion, I can't help how any of those bands feel because I wasn't ever in those bands, but my take on it is that, hey, you know what? Especially during that time frame, that label helped get that music way the fuck out there. So like Sinister fucking probably helped them fucking get on Nuclear Blast. You know what I mean? Fucking, you know, Incantation, Mortician, all that, you know, when Relapse was first forming and picking up bands and all that kind of thing. Like, Seraphic Decay definitely got your shit out there, just like Wild Rags. It had a lot of the same kind of complaints. People look back and say, younger kids are like, man, look at the Wild Rags roster. But people that were there, like, you remember, there was just as much fuck Wild Rags as there was fucking Seraphic Decay. But at the end of the day, they got a fucking fuckload of copies of fucking cool music out there, man.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny these days, Steve O'Bannon has kind of become an urban legend. Nobody knows where he went. There's rumors he's in Texas. There's rumors he's here and there. And one of the only guys that really knew how to find him was Jim Kanye, and he took that to the grave with him, dude. So a lot of people are still looking for Steve O'Bannon, you know, people that are still pissed off about that. And I can't blame them for how they feel, you know. But
yeah, but the fact that
I appreciate that label and everything that they put out.
Yeah, but the fact that it was such a small label, all these bands were somewhat no names at the time too, and like you said, just because you wrote down that was 500 copies, that's all we were doing, but then he ended up doing like 3,000-4,000 copies in many various styles and versions or whatever. He still got that shit out for you though. That's the fucking main deal, right?
Right. In my opinion.
Going back,
Chris,
we were saying how
you probably know this story. You could tell it. So when Mortician was based out of here during the Brian Sekula years, that's the first thing. Will Romer came into town with Roy Fox from Necroharmonic and everything, and they were hanging out with Sekula. The first thing he wanted to know was, hey man, where the fuck's O'Bannon's house? Take me to O'Bannon's. You know, like people still wanted to knock on his fucking door and go beat his fucking ass. Even then, dude. You know what I mean? So you're talking 96, 97. 5, 6 years, 7 years after the fucking 7 years after the 7-inch comes out, dude, and people still want to fuck with, hey man, take me over to fucking O'Bannon's house. Where's he fucking at, man? You know, like
nobody ever knew. I've never met him. I know of him.
Yeah, I never did either. You know,
Steve met him once. My buddy
Steve Aggs and Jim Kanye, Jim Lapucci knew him. You know, so
Jim. That was Jim. See, that was Jim. When we were younger, that was Jim was in with Steve, and Jim he had the hookup. Steve would hook him up with stuff, you know, because he was, you know, we started, you know, getting into stuff and the mail and all that, but he was even older than us. Like Paul said, the late '80s, he was in it already. Fans sending him stuff, and he had everything. And Jim was in. That was Jim's buddy, and Jim kept him, you know, to himself. He would never let anybody in as far as getting stuff from him, but that was Jim's, you know, conduit through the underground. And he would just go to his house on a Friday night and be like, hey, I got this, I got that, you know, whatever was new at the time. And he'd make him a pile and okay, I'll come back with money, because none of us had that much money back then. He always had a tab. I know that, running with Steve O'Bannon. But there's a funny story about Will. It was a funny story. Our buddy Steve Eggs used to be in Jim's band Schnauzer and a bunch of other projects.
Yeah, Minch, man.
Minch, yeah, that's another one.
He was in Minch. But Jim took him to Steve's house one time, one of his Friday night or Saturday night trips. I wasn't there, but it had to be '89, and it was a big deal because he had an advance of Altars of Madness, and we all wanted to hear it so bad. And they were going to listen to it, I think, but I don't know if they were going to get copies or not. I don't think he was supposed to give it out. And this is just a story. Jim used to tell it, and I've heard it from Steve too, but my friend Steve, not Steve O'Bannon. But so they're there at this house, however it was laid out, and they're in a room, and I guess Steve disappears out of the room, and they're looking for him, and they go in the other room, and he's in the other room trying to dub the fucking Altars of Madness, trying to steal a copy, and they're like, what the fuck what are you doing, man? What the fuck are you doing? Oh, I don't know, I'm just trying to make a copy. And you fucking asshole, I bring you over here. And it was just hilarious. The way Jim would tell was a lot funnier, but that's how connected that dude was, you know what I mean? We were all jonesing to fucking hear that, and we had to wait probably another month or so to hear it, but
Right.
he did have it. You know what I mean?
So Jim was
up. People else that I think had ties to him were, you know, Matt's telling me from Blood of Christ that you know, Tom Rojak had and you know who else I think had a tie to him was Scott Cunningham, who was also in Embalmer. He preceded Dwayne. He was only in the band for a very short time during the End of the Oven era, and then he was in Sodomized for their third demo tape, you know, 96, 95, 96 era. But Scott Cunningham also, I know, used to talk to him, and I think Scooter might have known him as well.
Yeah, because he knew it from the because he was around in all those years, right?
Yeah,
right.
and
so that's, you know, so.
And you obviously
so that's how like Bright ended up on there too, man. Like he put the 7-inch out, you know, and Tom knew him, and he ended up putting out the Blood of Christ, you know, 7-inch, and
yeah, he did,
and all that. So
yeah, because Sharon
ties to some people here, but to most people in the worldwide scene, and most of us even here in Cleveland, the guy's a bit of an enigma, you know, still to this day, like an urban legend. Like, who's this Steve O'Bannon and this cult label? I mean, you got Maggot Stomp and all these newer labels that replicate their logo and all, you know, and obviously people are still seeking out those releases and all that kind of stuff. Younger people that are starting collections, like, oh man, I need that Turketta 7-inch, and oh man, I need that fucking Goraphobia and that fucking Incantation, you know, with the alternate artwork of Entrapment of Evil and blah, 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 blah. And I think that's cool as fuck, dude. But the fact that shit, say what you will about it, the fact that was based here, that's just another example of how much metal existed here, dude, and was concentrated here, that maybe your average fan that, you know, doesn't really know that, you know.
Right.
So
no,
I mean,
totally.
That's another example of how lucky we were.
Right.
Really.
And then okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. Death metal started getting brutal, fucking brutal as shit. And like you were mentioning, Brian, one of the guys who ended up starting the Ohio Death Fest and all that kind of shit with Regurgitation and everything like that, things started blowing up a lot, correct?
Right. So you if you remember the 90s, you know, it's a unique time. So you had, during that time, you had the early 90s, you had your great major label full lengths coming out, right? Mm-hmm. And then you had people that were a little older, than from the 80s, and they appreciated more of that raw sound. They started really rebelling against the Mora sound kind of a sound.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, it's too polished, too compressed, too triggered, too this, too that. All right? So some bands like Immolation, obviously, they wanted to stray away from that, but they went to Germany and recorded with Harris Johns from Sodom and all the rest of that for Dawn of Possession. That's why that album fucking is my favorite ever and has an ethereal production that's never going to be fucking matched. But that's kind of what led to the black metal scene. So you had a divergence of forces. You had three different prongs, if you will, in my opinion. So you had, number one, people that wanted to go more fucking brutal and keep it death metal. You had people that thought death metal was played out and they want to go more raw, bathery, whatever, and they want to be fucking totally dead and fucking whatever, and they wanted to go black metal, okay? And then you had your favorite 91, 92, whatever major label bands that decided to go a little commercial between the 94 and 96 eras. Now, I made a post about some of those bands, and, you know, probably your least favorite major label bands of some of your favorite bands came out during that era. Like, you know, I don't want to trash any bands, but like World Demise, I mean, Diatribes, fucking Feel Sorry for the Fanatic, fucking, you know, Atrocity Blue, like all that kind of stuff was, if you listen to it in today's lens, they're not terrible records if you listen to it now. But at that time, that shit was pretty watered down.
Yeah, it was sellout. You know, it was sellout, for sure.
So what was cool about that brutal era that you're talking about, which I was more into than Chris, you know, during that time, because me and Brian were tight at that time and kind of on the same wavelength, was that all your favorite demo bands like Mortal Decay, Flesh Grind, fucking all that kind of stuff, dude, they had demos out instead of full lengths in 92, 93, 94, 95. Mm-hmm. So their first full lengths with Pulverizer Records, some of those types of labels started coming out.
Repulse.
96, 97, 98, 99. You know what I mean? Drowned into Repulse, all that kind of era of transition. So I kind of stayed on that path during those times, you know, and helped him with his store and his label. Obviously, he was the driving force behind all of it, but I participated as much as I could as far as promoting the Death Fest, discussing what bands to book with them for some of the early ones and stuff, dude, over a joint or two and some beers, and really trying to push that scene. So to me, that was the last real exciting wave of new shit that came out. You know what I mean, man?
Oh, yeah.
And that lasted until probably about, for me, up till about maybe 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And then even I started really losing interest in that, man. There's still a lot of good ultra brutal bands that I really fucking enjoy. Most of them, you know, many of them from that same era, like Gorgasm, stuff like that I think are really fucking awesome still, dude. Mortal Decay, you know, Eternal Bleeding, bands like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, a lot of the stuff that's like that today doesn't resonate with me as much. You know, and I'm not hating on it. I'm not, because you're always going to be a product of what you're influenced by.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't help that there's some 25 or some 28 or some 30-year-old kid out there, dude, that listened to Mortal Decay in 97 when he was fucking, you know, 12 or 15 or some shit, and now makes a band like that.
Right.
But it's not going to hit me the same way now in 2020 as it hit me in 1997, as it hit me in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I still enjoy that style, I would say, dude, but I have to run it through more of a fine-tooth comb to really pull out what's fucking really good. And I don't want to trash the other shit, because a lot of it's redundant to me, but it's fresh to somebody else.
Sure.
So, you know what? If it promotes death metal and it promotes that style and it keeps it going, I really can't hate on it, dude.
Yeah, totally. No, it's exactly what it is. I mean, we grew up, we watched the scene progress and do whatever it had to do, and when it got to the late 90s, or mid to late 90s, when shit started just getting fucking like, oh, your camera's off, Paul, your camera's off. Uh-oh. Paul, where'd you go?
He got disconnected, I guess. We have to, maybe he'll call back.
Well, he better. But anyways, so during that whole late 90s period was fresh to us, right? Like, I mean, you know, Dying Fetus was starting to really, you know, push themselves. Deeds of Flesh was fucking killing it at the time. And then so we watched that, and it was fresh. It was new, because it just got heavier. It got fucking, the growls were fucking deadlier, but the production was still raw as fuck, right? So it was still fresh to us, and we loved it, because it was like, oh, this is kind of new to us. It's like, it's not like, you know, we're listening to Effigy of the Forgotten, you know, over and over and over again. It's like, well, here's some new old Suffocation style with this raw sound, but it's fucking twice as fast, it's twice as heavy, the vocals are fucking ridiculous, and it was awesome for us. And like Paul was saying, you know, the new stuff, you know, not gonna knock it or anything like that, but that's not us. We grew up 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and these kids want to relive it and try to, you know, bring back those sounds and stuff. But it's not always the case.
Right. I mean, they could, and like he said, you know, they can do it. They're going to make a band, and like I have the same attitude that he does. You know, I have to go through it with like you said, with a fine tooth comb. And
oh yeah.
Now and then I pick something out that's okay. And
am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
My fucking phone died, man. What can I tell you? I'm not on the computer. Too much metal.
So
you're not on camera, though, are you?
Yeah.
Am I?
I'm good.
I don't see you.
I'm here, right?
I hear you.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
You see him, Cam? I don't see him.
You don't see him?
I don't know why.
Can you hear him?
No. I can hear him.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
That's all you need anyways. Fuck it, right?
Yeah, fuck it.
I let my shit fucking run down. What can I tell you, man?
Yeah, it's all good.
My opinion on new brutal death metal, so it cut me the fuck off. What can I tell you?
So as I was saying, and you were saying too, that like the new scene, they try to emulate what we grew up with in the 90s, watching this brutal death metal get crazier and crazier. So we gravitated to it because it was like, oh shit, this guy got faster. This guy got, you know, his growls got even crazier. The blast beats are getting fucking insane. and we loved it all because it was like it was almost fresh again.
Right. I mean, they're looking at that stuff. That's old to them.
Yes.
Like we listened to stuff that was old. When we listened, we were listening to Megadeth, and then we heard, Cannibal Corpse. It was like night and day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's our, that's them today. So, that's old to them now. For us, it's like we've been around through that whole time, and we're still active. So it's, we have all that saturation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, literally. Like when.
So like I say, man. Can everybody else see me out there? Drop a comment. I don't care if you can see me or not.
Oh yeah.
I mean, fucking.
Yeah.
I'm here. I mean, I'm on it. So sorry, Chris. I'll see you tomorrow when we jam. And I'll take it back to what Ken said during his interview. Because somebody asked him a question. He's like, people always ask me, do you support the new shit that's out there? And he said, absolutely. And the thing is with that, dude, is I agree. Because guess what? You can be an elitist asshole. We all are to a certain degree. We like what we like. We were there for what we were there for. Yeah. But you want to know what, dude? If you want to be that way, guess what? You're going to be the only guy standing at the fucking show. This music will fucking die. Okay, so somebody's got to continue to do this style of music, dude. And you should be happy that there's young kids out there that want to play fucking sewage type of death metal or want to play brutal death metal. You know what I mean? And just because it doesn't hit me the same way because, I happen to have a different experience in life doesn't mean it doesn't hit some fucking dude that's younger than me or Chris or you or any of us, dude, a different way and make them take that deep dive into a YouTube fucking day or two where they're like, oh man, check this tape. Oh man, check that demo. I mean, that's the thing. That is one of the upsides of today is there's so much shit is so accessible. You want to go find some fucking obscure tape like Corpus Delicti or something that Chris and I love and something like that. You can go fucking find that. You want to find Blood of Christ or something that we've been talking about all night. You can find that and go fucking jam it. You want to learn about Decrepit, you can go fucking find it, dude. You don't own an original copy of Hour to Go Gotha, you want to go check out what's all the hype about the first incantation, you can go fucking check it out.
Yep.
So they have that same kind of passion that we had, dude. They're just dealing with a different era of technology, a different era of fucking way to find music. You don't have to write to go get a fucking tape. You don't have to look at somebody's logo or see them in a thanks list and say, man, that's going to be awesome. Then you spend your $5, $7 to get it in the mail and it fucking sucks. You know what I mean? They can actually preview that shit now, dude. You're not like, oh, they had a cool logo. They were all wearing cool shirts in the band photo, but man, does this fucking tape blow dick. You know what I mean, dude? I just wasted $7 fucking bucks I could have bought something else with. God damn it. But what can you do, dude? I mean, you can't hate on that shit, dude.
At all.
When you have a label like Maggot, people, and all throughout history, people tend to hate on shit that gets popular, So, oh man, Blood Incantation, that band sucks, man. Tomb Mold, you hear all the common circular ones that people fucking bitch about, dude. You know what I mean? But why would you hate on somebody getting successful, dude? What is really success? Selling a few thousand copies of a fucking record?
Yeah. No.
Really?
Yeah.
Having it repressed 5, 6, 7 times? Good for you, dude.
Yeah.
Good for fucking you. In this era of non-physical music, that you can have a release on Dark Descent or whatever fucking Maggot Stomp or whatever label that's out there now that's successful and moving copies and units. Why would you be pissed about that?
Yeah.
That the label can move copies, that the label can trade shit and reinvest in new bands and put other shit out and get distribution. Isn't that what it's fucking all about, dude?
It's still death metal.
But people trying to be cult, dude. Like, oh, dude, I only want 5 people to hear my shit. I'm going to pay for a jam room. I'm going to invest in all this fucking gear. I'm going to spend fucking 2-3 days out of my week fucking jamming. I'm going to go pay for recording. I'm going to do all this shit. But I don't want anybody to fucking hear it. Not too many people. Not too many. I don't want too many people to hear my fucking shit. I mean, it's just ridiculous to me, man.
Yep.
So we all have our own preferences on what we like, and it's based on what your experience is in life, dude. I'm always going to gravitate back to the shit that originally originally drew me to fucking thrash and death and all that. And those people are going to draw themselves back to the same thing. So maybe my reset button is 87, 88, 89 through fucking like 90, whatever. Maybe their reset button is 92 through 97, right? Yep. I mean, who am I to say that that's unfucking cool?
No, literally. No.
Nobody.
Yep.
I am.
And but it's still fucking death metal. That's the point. Is the fact that you're actually in, like you said, in a band that's, Tomb Mold or Blood Incantation. They're still listening to the fucking Necrovore and Embalmer and all that shit. So there's a fucking, we're still listening to the same shit, and we're in the same scene.
Right. So that's what takes it away now. Is it's so divisive, man. It's so divisive, and that's what my earlier comment about the hardcore scene, and the skaters, and the fucking punks, and the fucking death metals, and the thrashers, and the fucking, the anarchists, and all the assholes. You know what I mean? Like it was all one thing. And I'd like to see it get back to that, dude. But all this micro dissection and fucking, scene police out there now, and you know what? Part of me liked it better when you only had to rely on zines. Part of me thinks it's not so cool when every individual John Doe out there has a mouthpiece, an international mouthpiece on the internet to give their fucking opinion, because really, who cares about your fucking opinion? Mr. Bedroom fucking, opinionator. I certainly fucking don't, dude. I'll listen to whatever I'm gonna fucking listen to. Fuck off.
Exactly. Exactly. Chris, you got anything to jump in on that one?
No, it's funny because you were saying, it's all death metal. It is, like Paul said, we're all elitist in a certain way, but we all grew up in a certain, generation to generation. It's always going to be different. That's fine. If I don't like it, I'm just not going to listen to it. I'm not going to trash it. I'm just not going to I just won't listen to it. That's fine. There's been plenty of things I've listened to in the last 30 years. I put it off to the side, you know what I mean? I'm out here to trash the new bands because they're trying to do their thing, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you mentioned, like, what is that spectral voice in those bands? Yeah. They try to make their records, they tried to make their one, I saw one of their 7-inches, make it look like a Seraphic Decay 7-inch. Remember that, Paul?
Yeah.
I think they tried to make it look like Abhorrence. Because they like that stuff.
Yeah, not only that, but that whole Mega Stomp label, they pay tribute and homage to those old labels. They have a Wild Rags knockoff logo and fucking t-shirt. They have a Seraphic Decay knockoff logo and t-shirt. They have an old Relapse fucking with the Spiderweb logo knockoff and fucking t-shirt. Why is it not cool, man? Because if you like that and you actually see where that came from, then you're going to, Relapse, General Surgery, Agoraphobia, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So why would you want to kill that progression of people taking that deep dive into the toilet? You know what I mean? You want people to fucking do that, dude. So
well, that's just it. How many people? Yeah. How many people are like, the fact that you bring up Seraphic Decay and all that kind of shit, I'm pretty sure I'm going to want to chat with you if I seen that Maggot Stomp label with the Seraphic Decay logo. I'd be like, holy fuck, dude, that rules. Do you remember Seraphic Decay? And then all of a sudden I would assume we'd be friends after that.
Right. So like I say, anything that keeps this music alive, because think about it. All of your favorite shit that you worship, all the stuff that's cult and legendary now, guess what? It was made by a 20-year-old. It was made by a 22-year-old, okay? How old was Glenn Benton when fucking the first Deicide came out? Was he born 67? Was he 23, 25, 22? All right? Who were the most active people, even us included, back in those days that were stage diving and really populating the show? 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds, unmarried, single, fucking raging, fucking teen angst motherfuckers that are ready to go sick. So it's always been that way, dude. So why would you, if you can appreciate Deicide when they fucking were making music when they were 23, or Cannibal Corpse when they were 20, then why is it uncool that somebody else now that's 20 or 23 is fucking making music? You know what I mean?
Well,
it's the same fucking shit, dude. So that's the way I look at it, man. I'm always going to have my personal preferences, Chris's, you are, all of us, from various generations. But why should you kill a whole new generation that's going to advance this music again, dude, and make people go back and find the stuff we're talking about?
Yep.
Why would you do that?
That is the whole fucking point. and it's awesome to see these younger generations, you know, clinging on to something that we grew up with that they missed, but they want to try to bring it back with, you know, in the new age, right? I mean, we're doing zines again. They're loving tapes again. And, you know, they want to bring that back. So what's wrong with that?
Yeah, and not only that, dude, but you got certain bands, some of those younger bands that we mentioned, I mean, they don't record in a modern way. A lot of those bands are getting fucking film and tape, and they're recording analog.
Yes.
You know? So why would you want to fucking not have authentic, hard to play? It's hard to record a fucking good album on analog. You can't fuck up your fucking tape too many goddamn times.
Yep.
So that takes talent, you know? Now, there's some other bands that are more in our era that do that currently, too, like Funebrarum and some of those other, you know, obviously good cult bands that you know, that are kind of next wave but still have old members in them, dude. But why would you want to hate on a band that you know, like a Spectral Voice or somebody else like that goes in and makes an analog recording in the old way to go do that has that rich, earthy tone and everything else you're looking to when it comes to a DAT or a tape or a reel-to-reel type of a fucking session. I mean, isn't that what we all like anyway?
That's what we grew up with, and that's, that's what we...
Is that what we like, you know? So,
it's exactly what we like. So,
they're just doing their best to connect with at their age and their generation, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like when we were younger, I went and recorded a demo and I wanted to go in, or over the years I'd go in and make an album, and I would take whatever album I loved at that time, whatever it may be, and wanted to compare it to it and try to get that achieved, that production. I mean, it's the same thing. But, you know, now it's a different generation.
And it's awesome because it's nice to see the newer generation loving what we grew up with and what pretty much made this scene the way it is.
Yeah.
Totally. So fuck off, elitists, and just fucking deal with it, because this is the natural progression as it is for true death metal.
Yeah.
Totally.
I want this music to survive. Fucking deal with it, dude, because guess what? The bands that we all grew up on that are still out there doing it and doing their thing, a lot of those guys are 50, 55, 58. You know what I mean, dude? Like, you know what I mean? It's going to get to the point where people are fucking 60, 62, you know, approaching the life expectancy of fucking being a human being and still out there fucking playing a goddamn show. So it's either going to fucking die or it's going to fucking continue. You know what I mean? So deal with it, man. I mean, Testament, how many more shows is Testament going to go fucking play? How many more fucking shows is, you know, Slayer's already done. You know, whatever, done.
Supposedly.
But, I mean, yeah. But, I mean, did you ever think when you were younger, you knew someday it was going to come in the future, but did you ever see the day, like, actually happening? Like, man, there's no Slayer. Like, you know, we're there.
Yep.
They'll probably come back and do reunion shows or do whatever they're going to do, just like Kiss and how many other fucking Rolling Stones and every other band that fucking, you know, ends and fucking still continues to tour. But they're at the end of their career. Let's put it that way. Whether they play shows or not, they're at the end of their fucking career, dude.
Totally. And we need this. And we need this younger generation.
You know, to think that Slayer's not going to put out a new record. You know, you're all that kind of shit. I mean, Iron Maiden's still killing it out there, but you know, you're kind of moving from a, hey, I'm excited about the new record to, hey, they're coming live and I hope they play only the first fucking few records type of a fucking setting right now.
Yeah.
Right, man? Like, none of us would bitch if Slayer came and played only up till South to Heaven or fucking, you know, Seasons in the Abyss. None of us would bitch, right? That's what we want to see, but we know they're going to play God Hates Us All. We know they're going to play Diabolus and Musica and all the stuff that I personally don't give fucking half a fuck about. You know what I mean? We got to do that. Bands got to release new music to stay relevant, to be able to go on tour, to go play the stuff that you want to hear. So fucking deal with it.
Exactly.
You know? People want it here because eventually it's going to be gone.
Yep. Exactly. So fucking just deal with it, because this is the progression of just just the scene. Regardless, the old people or the old bands, everything like that, are eventually just gonna start fading out, and we need this new generation to keep the fucking flame going. Like that's just what's supposed to happen. And if they fucking sell, 1,000 copies of their CD, and who cares? The fact that they're still fucking trying to do the way the old shit was is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So what's going on? So you said KURNUGIA, there's a new album coming out on Memento Mori, and we're just waiting for that.
Right. So the 7-inch is available now on Hotel Records, okay, and it's been selling pretty good. So he's been moving some copies from what I understand, dude. So if you want a copy, you know what? How can you beat it? If you get the 7-inch and one other item, it's free shipping. And the 7-inch is only $6. So how can you really beat that? You want to know what KURNUGIA is about and get two bands on a split on vinyl format? $6 free shipping as long as you buy one other item. So Haunted Hotel Records has that available right now. Our new CD, like I say, is on Memento Mori. He does have pretty decent trade distribution. So, I imagine that, I expect that a lot of U.S. labels will carry the new KURNUGIA. We'll have copies in a couple weeks. So either like the page or write one of us, and we can put you in touch with a copy once we have them in hand. And check out the promo tracks. If you don't know what we're talking about and you haven't heard our band KURNUGIA, you can go on YouTube and you can search some of our new tracks, and they're there for you to preview. And like I say, that's something that we didn't have the opportunity to do in the 90s. So you don't have to just blindly order our shit just because, I'm wearing an Autopsy shirt and be like, yeah, cool, man. And he's wearing a Bolt Thrower shirt. Like, oh, that's probably going to be good. Cool. And, go make your own opinion. Go listen to it.
Yep.
Leave a comment. We love hearing when people actually give us feedback back about what they hear, good or bad, whatever, man. Let us know what you think. Drop a comment, And if you like it, pick it up. Support those distros. That's another thing that's at risk of fucking going away, dude. You gotta support your fucking distros and your fucking labels that are still doing this shit.
Yep.
You can go and stream it all you want. You can buy the Bandcamp copy. You can do all that other kind of stuff, dude. But if you have the means and, the motivation to go buy the physical release, to me, that can't be replaced.
Nope.
We made a full booklet on the new KURNUGIA. It's fucking 10 fucking pages. You got all the lyrics. You got an extensive thanks list. You got photos. You got all the other kind of shit, dude, because that's still important to people like us,
yes.
Okay? I want to look at a CD and see the fucking, the band photo and look at the shirts. I still want to read the thanks list and see who's in there. I still want to fucking have the lyrics available to me. Those are things that just don't change about me as a music fan, whether it's my band or something else that I'm buying and support. But if you don't support the fucking labels, and the bands, then all you're gonna have is a fucking digital copy. And to me, that's just not as cool. I mean, yeah, it's convenient for me to turn on my TV and put on YouTube and listen to Grotesque Infection, of course. I'll give you a plug there too, man. Order that shit on CDN. That's fucking some great goddamn tapes, okay? Order that Grotesque Infection shit. Great upstate New York shit. So get it.
Fucking A. No, it's true though.
You're not getting the lyrics. You're not reading the thanks list. You're not doing all those things that, to me as a music fan, is part of when you pop it in. When I put something in, it's look at it, read it, check it out, look at the artwork, who did it, okay, where's the credits, where was it recorded, blah, 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 blah. I still do all that bullshit.
It's true, yeah, and you miss that with the digital, because like you said, you're only downloading the music, and I mean, if you're going to go search out...
You got the album cover staring at you. That's it, man.
That's it. I mean, it's cool if it makes you want to dig a little farther and, see what it's all about, but you're not going to have it in your hand while you're listening to the music, because that's the whole thing, man. It's having it, and like you said, reading the thanks and the lyrics and the layout and what the band's wearing and all that kind of shit, because that just gets you going like, oh shit, man, well if he's wearing that band, maybe I should check that band out, or he's thanking that band in there, I should check that band out, man. Like it's a vicious cycle, and that's just what keeps that scene alive.
you know, and when it comes to these shirts, like me and Chris were saying, we coordinate, we go to shows, and I look at what shirts people wear, whatever. Like, you know, you got to differentiate between what I'm saying and being a poser. I'm not talking about fashion and poserism.
No.
What I'm fucking talking about here, dude, is like, dude, it means something to me, and especially in today's society, bands that say, "Oh, image doesn't matter." Oh, it doesn't fucking make a difference. It's about the music, man. Okay, yeah, I'll agree with you. I ain't gonna fucking argue with you. But you wanna know what? In today's 1 second attention span fucking society, if you're a band and you put all the effort into doing a band, when it's actually band photo day for your fucking band, make it fucking representative of what your fucking actual music is. Because some idiot on the internet, not idiot, but some person on the internet is gonna look at your fucking photo for 1 fucking second, maybe a half a second, and say, is that something I'd be into? Fuck that. Next thing. I'm not clicking on that. You know? So have your shit represent who the fuck you are and what kind of fucking shit you're into. It's always been like that, and that shit doesn't fucking change. You know? And even people like me, I appreciate that shit.
Totally.
So I would say if you're going to have a band photo day, represent who you are, dude. Represent what you're influenced by. Represent what your band's all about, dude. Because it makes a fucking difference. You have your live performance, your music, which is the main thing, the substance, and you have your band image, dude. It's always been that way. Everybody knows Slayer back in the day with, you know, Show No Mercy with the fucking upside down crosses and the fucking, you know, all that. Everybody knows Cannibal Corpse with Chris Barnes with his hair over his face and all those guys with long hair and the fucking what shirts they're wearing. Yep. Carl Dissection got made famous by them on the back of Tomb of the Mutilated, for fucking Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Another thing, CDN and fucking, you know, the guys over at the Growl gave you on a fucking easy format re-releasing those tapes. All right? All that shit, you know, I know, man. You know, and Carl Dissection I appreciate too, because we got to see them in Cleveland too, probably their last show, you know, and me and EMBALMER got to play with Grave Descent, you know, Dennis's other band, and Rich Ziegler and all those fucking dudes that go way back in the old Buffalo scene. Like, I connect the dots on all that, man, and everybody else should too, man.
Yep.
I mean, but that just shows you the power of a band of a shirt on a band photo. Would half the people know who Carnal Dissection are worldwide if Paul Mazurkiewicz didn't wear that on the back of fucking Tomb of the Mutilated?
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean,
I point that out all the time. Yep, I point that out all the time, man. Especially like, you know, since we released. Yeah, totally. But you don't want to be Frank Mullen on Effigy of the Forgotten wearing a Trump fucking shirt, right?
Trump Plaza shirt, right? Trump Plaza. Yeah, see, I know, because I studied that fucking shit when I'm fucking listening to it. I know he's got Trump Plaza. I know Josh Barone has the Deceit shirt on. I know fucking, you know, the Doug Cerrito's got a Ripping Corpse. I know Terrence has a fucking Morpheus shirt on. I know all. I got the shit memorized. It's burned into my fucking brain, dude.
Yep.
You know?
Totally.
I know that John McAfee on Hour to Golgotha has an Immolation shirt on, and fucking Ronnie Dio's got Shoving to Guroth, and Craig Pillard's wearing fucking Possessed. I know all that shit, dude. And Jim Rose said, hey, I'm going back and wearing Black Sabbath Volume 4. You know? I remember that shit. It made an impact on my fucking dumb brain. So, you know? I know there's another Maniacs picture of Chris Barnes with his eyes rolled up wearing this shirt, fucking sitting there singing, dude. I know. I was caught up and put it on my fucking wall when I was a fucking kid. I know, dude. You know? Fuck.
That's great. That's great. I fucking love it.
I covered some of those bands back in the day, you know? Looking at those early demos, early zines, or those early records, and looking at the band shirts, and that's how I discovered, you know, you'd go back, oh, what's Morpheus? Oh. And then all of a sudden, we had that Cleveland connection to Morpheus when he put the record out. You know, Seraphic put the 7-inch out.
Double 7-inch.
Yeah, look at wearing their shirt.
Double 7-inch.
You know, later on, I got to know Rob Gensch. I did a couple of stints with Incantation over the years. When Rob was in the band, I got to be pretty good friends with Rob, and
still a good friend, man. Mausoleum and Morpheus Descends. Pisses me off, dude. We were supposed to do a fucking show in Pittsburgh with EMBALMER and Morpheus Descends again, and the stupid virus fucking canceled that shit out, man. But, you know, that's an example of brotherhood for fucking many years. People you might not talk to every day, fucking release that you get.
Exactly.
It makes a difference, guys.
Exactly. All right. Well, I mean, fuck, we've been chatting for I don't know how long, and we could still literally chat for another fucking 4 hours. Like, it's ridiculous, man. But I gotta take a piss myself, and I know you you guys gotta do some shit too, but
I gotta get another beer.
yeah, that's just it also. I'm out myself, so thank you very much, guys. Honestly, man, I fucking appreciate this, and I know everybody else watching. It was nice to hear about, the Ohio scene and everything and how important it actually was, and you didn't even realize it most of the time. That's the thing. It's fucking awesome, man. But make sure to check out Memento Mori. It's coming up. KURNUGIA is coming. KURNUGIA is coming with a new album, and it's gonna fucking slay. Like we mentioned, if you didn't get that 7-inch on Haunted Hotel Records, then go fucking pick that shit up because it's cheap as shit. And we need something for our earworms to fucking keep us going through all this shit. So thank you very much, guys. And once this shit's over, we're coming down to Ohio. We're fucking hanging out, and we're gonna sit down and do this properly for the fucking documentary. Does that sound good?
Sounds good, absolutely, bro. New EMBALMER coming later this year too, man. So keep your eyes peeled. We're still recording that, but that's coming too. So it'll be a busy year. It's a little slower pace than what I intended with this stupid fucking virus, dude. But we're still trying to fucking stay metal and get some shit out to the masses as best we can. So thank you, Cam, for fucking having us out tonight, man. And good to catch up, and like you say, we're all death metal freaks at the end, so we could talk another fucking 5 hours easily on this shit, changing topics, because it's in our blood, dude.
It literally is, man.
We appreciate your time, bro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Chris, it's been a pleasure, guys. Fucking right, man. All right, well, sign out, and we'll chat soon, dudes.
Cheers out.
Cheers.
Later,
Woo!
Later.
Holy shit, guys. Well, that fucking killed. Honestly, man. Like, I don't know how many times that I wanted to jump in there to throw in my own 2 cents, but literally, there's fucking so many stories out there, and I'm glad that, like, the Growl itself and, us doing this documentary, and I mentioned before that we want to get those stories like that. Like, fucking, the Visceral Productions, the Ohio shit, and all that stuff, and how important, Hell's Headbanger is and everything. Like, it's insane. And super glad to have everybody else fucking jump on board, hang out, talk fucking shop, and just talk the scene, because that's fucking what we're supposed to do, man. It's fucking, oh my God, man. That was a great interview. That was fucking awesome, dudes. Wow, man, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this shit. And like, I've hung out with Paul many times, man. I've seen EMBALMER a bunch of times, man. It's fucking such good dudes, man. And Chris, like, I can't wait to hang out with him now, man. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is the family, and it's cool doing these interviews because then we can connect and hang out and just get these fucking stories out and just be good brothers and sisters, man. That's what we got to do. Stop fucking hating on shit just because it gets popular or whatever. You don't like it. Who gives a fuck? The fact that they're playing death metal, like, that's just what you need regardless, man. The fact that somebody says, I play death metal, cool. Let's fucking sit down and have a conversation about this fucking crazy genre. That's the coolest thing to do, man. Stop fucking hating. It's ridiculous, man. Just fucking enjoy what you love. Who cares if you don't like the band that, this other guy online is talking about or whatever like that. They suck. I don't like all the bands either. I don't give a fuck. But the fact that you're actually still being a part of the scene with us is fantastic, man. And as long as you're being true and cool and support, share, like, do everything you can to fucking just keep this scene going, man. And especially the underground. Unbelievable. So, much appreciated. And talking about Seraphic Decay, that conversation is going to go on tomorrow because Corin Vandenbrand, out in the Netherlands, her band, Acrosticon, was on Seraphic Decay also. So we're going to talk about that. That's going to continue tomorrow. So that's fucking cool as shit. But tomorrow, we're doing it earlier. So since she's out, in Europe, there's like a 6 or 7 hour time difference. So if we did it at 7:30, it would have been like 1 or 2 o'clock. We're doing it at 4:30 Eastern tomorrow. Just to let you know, we're doing it a few hours earlier so that she can still be awake to do this interview. But make sure to tune in tomorrow at 4:30. It's not 7:30. We're doing it at 4:30 tomorrow. And it's awesome just to get more females on board because, I mean, they're just as much as part, they're just as part of the scene as everybody else, man. It's fucking awesome. And hopefully we got some cool stories. I'm pretty sure we're going to. So thanks a lot, man. But like I said, tomorrow, 4:30, we're starting the interviews. And we're just going to go from there. And we'll hopefully see everybody again tomorrow. And thanks again to fucking Paul and Chris. Fucking awesome, man. This is good. This is a good one. Actually, everything's been awesome, man. It's just been so fun. It's pretty much just like a round table of hanging out with our buds. That's all we're doing, man. And we're just bringing it to you. I want to check the comments and say hi to everybody and all this other shit. But I'm fucking... I got to take a piss, get a beer, smoke a joint, and time to chill. So, see everybody tomorrow. Thank you very much, and let's fucking do this again, all right? Cool. Everybody's messaging me tonight. I can't even get out of here. What happened here? Rotate your device while I'm live. I'm still live. There we are.